Hello and welcome to the second lecture on GCOC. In the first lecture, we discussed about mostly our discussion centered around electrophiles, nucleophiles. And of course, we knew about free radicals, types of reactions, bond cleavages, homolysis, heterolysis. In this lecture, we will be talking about the reactive intermediates which are formed during the course of reaction. Carbocations, carbanions, carbon free radicals, carbenes and nitrines. These are the reactive intermediates which are formed from an organic substrate, and they are extremely short lived. They live for extremely short time and then react with other species to form product or some other species, leading towards product formation. These intermediates are of five types. Carbocations are electrophiles, carbanions are nucleophiles, free radicals are free radicals. They are not branded as nucleophile or electrophile, they are free radicals. Of course, it is electron deficient, having 7 electrons, if it is a simple radical, not a radical ion. Carbenes are electrophiles, we shall see. Nitrines are also electrophiles. Now let us start one by one. Carbocations. Carbocations are of two types. The carbocations which we shall study in our high school stage is carbanium ions, which we will say carbocations. As a matter of convention, we will not call them carbanium ions, but actually they are carbanium ions, where carbon is sp2 hybridized, carries a positive charge, and it is planar, trigonal planar shape with a vacant p orbital on non-hybridized, ready for conjugation with other orbitals, p orbitals or pi orbitals. We shall know that later. What is conjugation? A resonance. Now the examples are methyl carbocation. It is truly methanium. E is given methanium, ethanium, propanium. So this is methyl carbocation is actually methanium. Third butyl carbocation. These are simple carbocations. Here carbon is sp2 hybridized if it is alkyl. If it is alkenyl, then it is bound to be sp. Alkenyl, CH2 double bond CH plus. It is sp. I am talking of alkyl carbocation is sp2. And the other one is carbonium ion. These are hypervalent, means the valency is more than 4. We will not talk anything about carbonium ions, or these are called alkanium, methanium, ethanium. These are hypervalent or more than 4, valency is more than 4. For example, this is the exotic methanium ion CH5 plus, ethanium ion C2H7 plus. These are very rare and we will not, but just for sake of information, that these are carbonium ions which are different from carbanium ions, which we will conventionally address as carbocations. Now see the structure of CH5 plus, where a CH3 plus is bonded to a hydrogen molecule. These two electrons, they cover up 3 centers. This is called 2 electron 3 centered bond, where the hydrogen, these 2 electrons, they also share this carbon atom, and these hydrogen atoms exchange rapidly with these hydrogen atoms in C2H7 plus, one ethane molecule is now bonded with H plus. So C2H6, then H plus. This is C2H7 plus, right? So this is a 2 electron 3 centered bond between the carbon and this hydrogen having a positive charge. So this is C2H7 plus, ethanium. We will not at all discuss about these any time later. We will be focusing only on carbanium ions, methanium, which we shall call carbocations. Let us go to the next. These are some of the examples of carbocation. This is 1 degree primary carbocation, RCH2 plus, produced from a primary carbon atom. So ultimately it will have CH2, 2 hydrogen atoms and with a positive charge. Maximum CH3 plus, these are 1 degree. Then 2 degree, produced from a 2 degree carbon atom. So it will have now 1 hydrogen atom with a plus. And tertiary, 3 degree alkyl, no hydrogen atom because it is produced from a 3 degree carbon. Tert butyl carbocation. These are all alkyl carbocations where the hybridization is sp2. This is same. This is allyl, double bond CH2. This is also sp2. This is benzyl, sp2. But this is vinyl. You know, the steric number is 2 here, so the hybridization is sp, right? And this is acyl, RC double bond O plus. So you will encounter with large number of different carbocations. These are some of the introducing examples. Let us see how carbocations are formed or carbanium ions are formed. In a very simple manner, I will be restricting only for the sake of information, nothing beyond that. Let us see how carbocations are formed. One of the methods is the heterolytic cleavage of a polar bond. Y is a more electronegative atom or group like chlorobromo iodo, which is more electronegative than carbon. So this is a polar bond. So at some point of time in a reaction, this bond can break in a heterolytic manner to produce a carbocation. The other method is the addition of an electrophile to carbon-carbon double bond or triple bond. You know, alkene and alkynes, they act as electrophiles because they can donate an electron pair, pi electron pair. So if you have an electrophile HCl, it will abstract a proton. The true electrophile is HCl because H plus doesn't exist freely. So this nucleophile abstracts H plus ion from HCl and produces a carbocation. This 2 electron, they bond with this carbon, making it CH3. Obviously this carbon will be electron deficient with a positive charge. This is ethyl carbocation. Truly it is ethanium ion, but we call it conventionally ethyl carbocation. Let us see some reactions of carbocations. How carbocations die, how the death occurs. I will just introduce with 2 simple death processes. Carbocation being an electrophile, because all positive ions are electrophiles, it can collapse with a nucleophile to form a bond. For example, OH minus and a carbocation forms alcohol. Or a neutral type of nucleophile like water can form a bond. This is a protonated alcohol. Subsequently, a proton has to be eliminated. Some base will have to remove a proton and then neutral alcohol will be formed. We are not interested in that. To show the detailed mechanism, we'll be doing that in appropriate times and stages. This is just an introduction. Then the other reaction can be elimination of a proton to form a pi bond. This is beta elimination. I told you in my first lecture that if there is a strong base like OH minus or NH2 minus or whatever, it can abstract a beta proton and a pi bond can be created. The carbocation plus charge will die because this goes as H plus combines with B minus to form BH. For example, this is OH minus, this is H plus. It forms a neutral water, right? So the other way for the death of carbocation is through elimination of a beta proton to form a pi bond. Now let us not discuss more about carbocations. Let us talk about its negative ion counterpart, that is carbanion. Carbon atom carrying a lone pair and a negative charge. There carbon atom carrying a positive charge, but here negative charge and a lone pair. Lone pair means one of the electrons is its own and the other has been acquired from some outside source. That is why a negative charge, a lone pair with a negative charge. Therefore, carbanions are the conjugate bases of their respective carbon acids. Stay patient, not the disease patient. With patience, we'll have a separate video on carbon acids. Where a proton is lost from carbon atom, it is a carbon acid. So carbanions are nothing but the conjugate bases of their respective carbon acids. For example, acetylene, CH triple bond CH. If H plus will be lost, it will be ethinide ion or acetylide ion. Right? Let us see how carbanions can be formed during a reaction. It can form by the heterolytic cleavage of CH bond. CH, usually CH bond. C is more electronegative than hydrogen. And if you use a strong base like OH minus, NH2 minus, alkoxide ion, then it will abstract a proton from this. This is the carbon acid. So it will abstract a proton and becomes BH, leaving behind a lone pair. In this pair, one of the electrons was that of carbons and the other is that of hydrogen. Therefore, a negative charge. This is the carbanion. There can be many other methods of the formation of carbanion, but we are not at all interested to go deeper into those things. Let us see the structure of carbanions and the hybridization involved in the carbon atoms. There are three types of carbanions. Just like carbocations, that can be sp2 and sp. It can be, in carbanions, it can be sp3, sp2 as well as sp. Let us see, sp3 is alkyl carbocations. Alkyl, 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree. RCH2 minus, R2CH minus, R3C minus. These are alkyl carbanions. There the carbon is sp3 because the steric number is 4, lone pair and the 3 bond pairs. Therefore it is sp3 and the shape of the carbanion is pyramidal because the lone pair does not contribute to the actual shape. And those which have a steric number of 3 like phenyl carbanion, vinyl carbanion, where the steric number is 3, then the carbon has to be sp2 hybridized. And the lone pair is located in a hybrid orbital that is not taking part in any conjugation. Forget about conjugation now. So the lone pair stays in a hybrid orbital, and the non-hybrid orbital goes for a pi bond. And also, this is very, very important. Also, in some conjugated ions where there is a resonance conjugation, like benzyl carbanion, allyl carbanion, although the carbon steric number is 4, for a lay student it is sp3, but in reality carbon is sp2, because a lone pair has to remain in a non-hybridized p orbital to go for the conjugation with the ring. We shall know about this resonance later. Similarly, allyl carbanion, the lone pair is lying on a non-hybrid p orbital, and the carbon is not sp3 hybridized, it is sp2 hybridized, where the lone pair is in a non-hybridized p orbital that will go for conjugation. We will know that in resonance. And the third category is sp, where this is ethanyl or acetylide carbanion. Ethanyl carbanion, this is any alkynyl carbanion where the steric number is 2, then it is sp hybridized. The lone pair is also present in hybrid orbital, because the two non-hybridized orbital will take part in 2 pi bonds. Now, like carbocations, you can have several types of carbanions: primary carbanion, primary alkyl, secondary alkyl. Lone pair I have not drawn. In each case, I have forgotten to draw the lone pair. Not forgotten, but purposely I have not given. It is understood. Minus charge means a lone pair, one of its own and others acquired. This is vinyl carbanion, benzyl. This is ethanyl. This is from acetone, CH3, C double bond O, CH2 minus, 1H plus has gone away. CH bond cleavage has occurred. H plus ion has been abstracted by a strong base. Now let's see some of the reactions of carbanions. Since carbanions are nucleophiles, they react with electrophiles. For example, carbanion, an alkyl carbanion reacts with water, which acts as an electrophile supplying H plus, proton donor. H plus is not freely available, but water is the electrophile. It provides H plus so that a new bond is established between this, becomes alkane. Or it can react with another electrophile, for example, a ketone or an aldehyde. Then a new bond is established between them, and this pi bond is polarized to oxygen. Then, of course, it has not come to its final fate. It will react further. It may abstract a proton from some acid and becomes neutral OH. We are not going to discuss the details of the mechanism. Similarly, carbanion, being a nucleophile, can react with another electrophile, that is alkyl halide. Here it acts as an electrophile because there is an electron withdrawing group, chlorine, bromine, iodine. So it can accept a lone pair, this carbon center. This is called the electrophilic center. It can accept a lone pair, and because of that, this bond will automatically break to form a higher alkane. A higher alkane, right? We knew about free radicals, but here we will know about carbon free radicals, where the unpaired electron is located on a carbon atom. So as you know that free radical is formed by the photolysis, that is by application of light, or pyrolysis, application of heat, or it can be primary radical initiated. We discussed in lecture 1. Homolytic cleavage of CH, CC, CBr, CCl, Ci, CO bonds. These are electron deficient species. If it is a neutral free radical, then it has got 7 electrons, including the unpaired electron. Homolytic cleavage of a bond is usually shown by only one fishhook arrow, not two. Although you could show another arrow mark, but it will look very clumsy, dirty diagram. So to avoid clumsiness, we write only one. That indicates that the other electron comes to R, alkyl. So you get an alkyl radical plus HBr. Similarly, we can have acetone when is subjected to sunlight or ultraviolet light, then this bond breaks homolytically, this bond breaks homolytically. So two electrons that constitutes a stable neutral carbon monoxide and two methyl radicals are formed for further reaction. Similarly, the primary free radicals obtained from bromine molecule by the homolytic cleavage of bromine-bromine bond, that bromine radical or atom reacts with a pi bond. So the pi bond is homolytically cleaved to form a secondary free radical, carbon free radical here. These two electrons, this one electron bonds with this bromine atom, bromine radical to form this bond, and we have an unpaired electron on carbon. So we saw how carbon free radicals are formed. Just for the sake of our conceptual clarity. Then let us talk something about the structure and hybridization of carbon free radicals. Just make an idea that carbon is sp2 hybridized. Carbon is sp2 hybridized in carbon free radicals. It is perfectly sp2 with a planar, completely trigonal planar shape in methyl free radical. But in all others, it is slightly deviated. sp2, no doubt, but it is slightly, the shape is slightly pyramidal. It's deviated from planarity, so we call it pyramidal. But still, the hybridization is sp2 and the unpaired electron lies in a non-hybrid. You can call it non-hybrid or unhybridized pz orbital, so that it can take part in further reaction. Got it? So don't take that unpaired electron as one steric number and make the hybridization sp3. It is sp2 because that unpaired electron is lying on a non-hybridized pz orbital, p orbital. Now the degree of or the extent of departure or pyramidal nature, the deviation from planarity, depends on the group or the atom with which the radical center is bonded. More electronegative atom will make more deviation from planarity. It will be more tetrahedral. More pyramidal. Pyramidal. Fluorine, oxygen, nitrogen, if bonded to carbon center, the radical center, then the pyramidal is more deviated from planarity and the bond angle is lesser. Now, those pyramidal structures can be of two types. Either it is flexible pyramidal, because in most of the cases the pyramid undergoes rapid inversion. Supposing this is the pyramid, this is on one side, then the next moment the pyramid will be on the other side. Then the next moment it is on the other side, just like an umbrella flips. So this flipping of the pyramid occurs very rapidly because the resistance or the barrier for this flipping process, this inversion process is very small. For example, even in dot butyl radical, where it is highly sterically hindered, carbon is bonded with methyl, 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 methyl. This is methyl, this is methyl, this is methyl, this is carbon and having an unpaired electron. Even then, the resistance or the barrier to inversion is as low as 0.7 kilocalories. So the rapid inversion occurs. These are flexible pyramidal structures. Mind you, the hybridization is sp2. And in very extreme cases where the inversion is stopped, when the barrier to rotation, say inversion is very high. For example, CF3 radical, CF3, when all these three are fluorine atoms, then the barrier for the rotation is very high, 25 kilocalories. Therefore, it is frozen. That means it is a rigid pyramid. It's not a flexible pyramid. It is a rigid. It remains like this forever. Those cases, and the angle is less because the fluorine is the most electronegative, so its deviation from planarity is high, the pyramidal nature is more, and hence the bond angle between this is less in CF3. Now I am showing you this is perfect trigonal planar. This is only case of methyl, but all other cases it is flexible pyramidal. Although the hybridization is sp2, but there is a slight departure. The unpaired electron compresses the bond pair so that it remains slightly deviated and has pyramidal geometry. But the unpaired electron is lying on a non-hybridized pz orbital. It doesn't look like a pz orbital having two lobes. It's wrong. I have copy pasted. So it's a pz orbital, right? But the pyramid is flexible. Even the extent of deviation is more if the radical center is connected with a more electronegative atom. If it is CF3, it is a permanent rigid pyramid, although, and the bond angle is little high, so we can call it approximately sp3. If it is a rigid one and the bond angle is close to 109, it's not even 109, we can call it the hybridization is sp3. But I used to tell to all of you that for carbon radicals it is sp2. Now let us see some of the a couple of reactions of carbon free radicals. Free radical, this unpaired electron is a half a bond, so it can combine with another radical, either of same type or different type, to form a full molecule. These are short-lived, very, very unstable, but they immediately combine. This is called mutual combination with another radical to form a stable compound. It can also undergo disproportionation, where two identical radicals, at least containing two carbon atoms, they undergo disproportionation. One H dot comes here and makes it CH3. And this dot, they form a pi bond. So only one arrow mark will solve many purposes. There is no need to give another fish hook arrow on this side, another fish hook arrow from this side. So this means this unpaired electron on carbon and this unpaired electron already there in carbon, they will unite to form a pi bond. And this carbon dot will join with H dot to form CH3. That is called disproportionation. An alkane and an alkene will be formed by the disproportionation of ethyl free radical. Now time for carbenes. Am I going fast? I think no. Is my English incomprehensible? Are you not able to follow the pace with which, the speed with which I am speaking? I think you are following. Now, carbene are another type of reactive intermediates in which carbon is divalent to covalent bonds and it is an electron sextate, 6 electrons, electron deficient species, but is neutral, no charge. There is a lone pair, non-bonding electron pair, but it doesn't take part for donation because it is electron sextate. Still, it has a tendency to accept electron to make it octet. It is a neutral species and is an electrophile. There are two types of singlets. Two types of carbenes. One is singlet carbene, the other one is triplet carbene. Now, I will explain to you what is the difference between singlet and triplet carbenes. Now, this in general, carbon carrying a lone pair, carbon carrying a lone pair, carbon carrying a lone pair. I will show you that in singlet carbene, carbon is sp2 hybridized. And the non-hybridized pz orbital is empty. And the hybrid, one of the hybrid orbitals contain the electron pair. The non-bonding electron pair is present in a hybrid orbital. And the non-hybrid orbital is empty for accepting an electron pair from a nucleophile. Here the bond angle, this bond angle is little less, 100 to 120, 110, not 120. As expected of sp2, there is a lone pair, a pair which will compress the bond angle, and in methylene carbene, this is called methylene carbene, I am missing out the lone pair. Let me draw that. Right? The methylene carbene, which is the simplest of all carbenes, has a bond angle of 104 degree. Otherwise, in all other carbenes, the bond angle varies from 100 to 110. Now, coming to triplet carbene, which is very interesting. Triplet carbene is really a diradical. Now, here also the carbon is sp2 hybridized, like the singlet carbene, but out of the two unpaired electrons, there are two unpaired electrons. This pair is now divided, separated. One remains in the hybrid orbital and the other goes to the non-hybrid p orbital. So there are two unpaired electrons. This is called the ground state triplet because there might be a confusion. There is another triplet which is called excited state triplet. I am not talking about that. I am talking about the ground state triplet and the ground state singlet, about which we have discussed. Here, because the electrons are spread in two different orbitals, now the bond angle is little more. This bond angle, this HH or RR bond angle is little more than this singlet carbene, 130 to 150. It is a diradical. It is paramagnetic because it has unpaired electrons. And if the bond angle is high, is 150 or more, then the hybridization will tend towards sp because sp is 180. So if it will be more than 150 in some triplet carbene, then the hybridization will be shifting towards, tending towards sp from sp2. Now see, between singlet and triplet carbene, can you tell me which one is more stable energetically? Yes, triplet carbene, because the electrons are spread out. According to Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, if the electrons are allowed to stay in one orbital, there will be slight repulsion between them. That will make it unstable. But if they are spread into different orbitals, then the energy is less, so it is more stable. So triplet carbon, I am talking of the ground state triplet carbon, is more stable than the ground state singlet carbon by 8 kilocalories per mole. And how a triplet carbon is formed? It is formed from singlet carbon. First, singlet carbon is formed. I will tell you how carbons are formed. Singlet carbon, when it is subjected to, bombardment, striking with inert gas molecules in the gaseous stage. Supposing you have argon gas or nitrogen gas and you generated carbon, singlet carbon. So these singlet carbons, they bombard with the inert gases, By that they fan out, they give energy, 8 kilocalories per mole, energy to the inert gas molecules, and the electrons are now separated from a single orbital, hybrid orbital, to one remaining in hybrid orbital, the other going to the non-hybrid orbital, right? So triplet state is more likely to exist in the gaseous state and the singlet state in liquid state or in solution. Remember this. We shall be, this GCOC program is meant to equip you, beginner in organic chemistry, to apply them in studying the mechanism of organic reactions, how the reaction is proceeding from start to finish. Now, I will tell you how carbons are formed in a very, very simple way. One of the ways is alpha elimination of trihaloalkanes. We talked about elimination, and that is beta elimination. The two living groups will go away from two adjacent carbon atoms. But if it is alpha elimination that I am introducing for the first time, in that case, the two living groups will go from the same carbon atom. Maybe in two steps, but from the same carbon atom. For example, this is bromoform, CHBr3. It's called bromoform or tribromomethane. It is treated with a strong base, alkoxide ion, tert butoxide ion, potassium tert butoxide. Then it will abstract a proton, this one as a proton, this hydrogen as a proton, and it becomes tert butyl alcohol, and it will create a carbanion in the first step. Then what will happen? The next step, this CBr bond will break in heterolytic manner. So Br minus will go out, leaving behind a lone pair with no charge. Because it had got one extra electron from hydrogen. In here it is negative charge. But once it loses its own electron in the second step, now the charge vanishes. It only has a lone pair, sextet, having no charge. So this is a dibromomethylene, CBr2 ... dibromomethylene carbene. The other way of getting a carbene is to apply heat, that is pyrolysis, or light, photolysis, to a ketene. Forget about ketene. Ketone is C double bond O. Ketene is C double bond C as well as C double bond O. Ketene. So if they are cumulative, one follows the other, then such ketene, if you treat it with heat or light, then there will be two fish hook arrow. For this homolytic cleavage will occur with pi bond as well as sigma bond, so that a stable carbon monoxide goes out, leaving behind two electrons which will be paired and form a carbon. It may be a triplet carbon or a singlet carbon, but it will be forming a carbon by the photolysis or pyrolysis of ketenes. This is another way. There are many other ways how to get carbons. I have given only two ways. Now let us see. Yes, I have given another way, third way. These are called diazoalkanes. These are very exotic molecules, stable molecules, diazoalkanes. This is diazomethane. If it is CH2, diazomethane. If it is CH3CH, then it is diazoethane, and so on. And there is a N double bond N, or the other resonance structure will be N triple bond N with a plus charge here on nitrogen, central nitrogen, and minus charge with a lone pair in the carbon atom. So if you are not proficient in drawing resonance structures, I will recommend you to go to my resonance program. We will be doing the resonance program once again in a very, very programmed, planned manner in the next video program. I mean, in this GCOC program. Never ever forget to watch it with pen and paper, and also solve some of the self-assessment questions that I will give at the end. So this is the second resonance structure I am writing here to show on photolysis or pyrolysis. This bond breaks, 2 electron comes here, so this part becomes nitrogen molecule, stable nitrogen gaseous molecule, goes out, leaving behind a lone pair, a electron pair, no charge, because it had a charge now, but once this carbon will lose one of its own electron, then this negative charge will vanish. This positive charge also will vanish. So you get a carbon by the photolysis or pyrolysis of this is diazoalkane. Let us know some of the reactions of carbons. One is insertion with a sigma bond. Supposing I am taking this methylene carbon, which is produced by the photolysis of diazomethane, CH2N2. This is CH2N2, diazomethane. So if we generate a carbon, it can be inserted between a carbon hydrogen bond, making it CH3. It can be inserted between a carbon hydrogen bond, making it a CH3, right? And preferably it will go for a secondary carbon. If there is a tertiary carbon, preference will be go to that. I have shown you one example where you have propane and you mix it with diazomethane and irradiate, apply sunlight. Then methylene carbon will be formed from diazomethane, as I have shown before, and preferably it will be inserted in the middle carbon, which is 2-degree carbon, and form CH3. So a branched alkane, isobutane, is the major product, but in some small amount of propane where the insertion will be occurring between this CH2 and H, so that there will be another CH3 here. So this is the minor product N-butane. The other interesting reaction of carbene is cycloaddition reaction. Just I'm sounding you. Don't be scared that I'm telling something very bombastic, very difficult for you. Just sounding. I'll tell you which is just to be heard and forgotten. Hard entry in one year and exit in the other year. You understand? This is cycloaddition. Supposing you by some chance, by some way, you created a carbon. That carbon can add up with a double bond. That carbon can add up with a double bond, forming a cyclopropane ring. This C, this C, this C. Now what happens here? Supposing these 2 electrons forms this new pi bond. These 2 electrons now form this new pi bond. So as a result, the lone pair is used up, forming a new sigma bond. And the pi electron pair is also used up, forming a new sigma bond. So you got a cyclopropane ring. This is called a cycloaddition reaction. More about this we will study in the chemistry of alkenes. How you are going? Are you going good? Am I talking slow as I promised in the beginning? Yes, I will often remember that most of you are beginners. I must talk slow. Now, let me tell you what are carbenoids. I didn't make a separate count for carbenoids as a reactive species, but carbenoids come under carbenes. They do not look like carbenes. They are stable compounds, but they produce carbene when they react with other substrates. These compounds which react like carbenes but not true divalent electron deficient species like carbenes. Carbenes are unstable intermediates, reactive intermediates, but carbenoids are stable. You can prepare. For example, this is methylene iodide or diiodomethane. You treat it with zinc copper couple in ether medium, you will get a compound. This is called a carbenoid. This is famously called the Siemens-Smith reagent. I bonded to carbon and I bonded to zinc. This is iodomethylene zinc iodide. This is a stable compound called carbenoid. But you can take this in any reaction. You are needing carbene. Moment you take this and heat it, then zinc iodide will go leaving behind a lone pair, an electron pair that will act as a methylene carbene. This carbenoid will produce methylene carbene whenever there is a demand. So carbenoids produce carbene, but they themselves are not electron deficient species, or carbon is not divalent. Carbon is as usual tetravalent, but they easily form carbenes during reaction. The other examples is RCHXLi, RCXX, X is halogen, chlorine, bromine, iodine, Li. So that when situation demands, then LiX will go and you get a lone pair. When situation demands, LiX will go, you get RCX and a lone pair, right? These are carbenoids. And last but not the least, we will talk about nitrines. Nitrines are the nitrogen analogues of carbenes. Same electron sextate, electrophiles. But instead of carbon, you have nitrogen. So, the species in which nitrogen is monovalent, not divalent, monovalent and is an electron sextate like carbenes, they are called nitrines. It has two lone pairs or electron pairs. We cannot call it lone pairs, the non-bonding electron pairs. Non-bonding pairs of electrons. It is the nitrogen analog of carbenes. These are electrophiles like carbenes. Like carbenes, nitrines also are of two types, singlet nitrine, triplet nitrine. But unlike the hybridization here, triplet nitrine is sp. In carbenes, both are sp2. But here, singlet is sp2, triplet is sp. Let's see. Singlet nitrine is sp2, where the two electron pairs, non-bonding electron pairs, they remain on hybrid orbitals, and the non-hybridized pz orbital is empty, free. Now in the triplet nitrine, it is sp hybridized, where one of the electron pairs is in a hybrid orbital and the other two unpaired electrons. In triplet nitrine, like triplet carbene, there are two unpaired electrons. So these unpaired electrons are present in non-hybridized py and pz orbitals, one in each. So that only one hybrid orbital is used to form a bond with carbon. That's why nitrogen is monovalent. So it is a diradical, triplet nitrine is a diradical, which is produced by the fanning out of energy from a singlet nitrine, because this is more stable, because the electrons are spread out into different orbitals, right? Now let's see how nitrines can be formed. Just for our curiosity, we let us know. Just like diazo compounds, diazoalkanes, you have another compounds called azides. Alkyl azides or aryl azides. Aryl means benzene, C6H5, phenyl. Now azide is N3. N3 minus is azide ion. So R, single bond N, double bond N, double bond N, this N with two lone pairs with minus charge, this one lone pair and this no lone pair with a plus charge. And this is the other resonance structure. If you are weak in resonance, don't worry at all. Wait. Keep your breath tight till we come to the mega program on resonance. Now let us take the second resonance structure, too easy to show. So when this bond breaks in heterolytic manner to expel a stable nitrogen molecule, then you are left with two electron pairs and no charge, because here it had a charge -1, but once it loses its own electron, this minus charge vanishes, it becomes neutral, right? Nitrene. And the other way to get nitrene is the photolysis, that is by light irradiation, or pyrolysis by heat application to alkyl isocyanates or NCO. So when you heat it or apply light, ultraviolet light, then this homolytic cleavage will occur on both the bonds pi and sigma, so that a stable carbon monoxide will go, leaving behind a very short-lived, reactive, unstable nitrene intermediate. Right. Now let's see how nitrines can react. I will show only two reaction processes and I will not discuss more about that. One of the methods of reaction is insertion with a sigma bond. Just like a carbene was inserted to a carbon hydrogen sigma bond to form a methyl group. Similarly, a nitrene can be inserted between carbon hydrogen bond to form an amino compound. Supposing this phenyl nitrene is inserted between this carbon hydrogen bond, then you becomes NHPH. So that is a 2-degree amine, a secondary amine is formed. The other way is intramolecular rearrangement. Once a nitrene is formed, then it is prone to rearrangement. That means this one of the pairs of electrons comes here to form a pi bond, and this alkyl or aryl, phenyl or aryl or alkyl, it will migrate from carbon to nitrogen. This is called rearrangement. So it comes here, the lone pair goes here so that there is no charge. So it is transformed to phenyl isocyanate. So a nitrene is converted to a stable isocyanate. So this is intramolecular rearrangement of nitrene. Nitrenes are produced by some way. I have told you there are many ways by which nitrenes are produced. So they can undergo rearrangement to form stable isocyanates, NCO. So this is the end of our program. How did you like it? You do not hesitate to, right? And also do not forget to subscribe, because once you do that, then immediately you get the information if any new video comes for you or for your relatives, your friends, or your known persons. Until the third video on GCOC will be the electronic effects, and one electronic effect we shall discuss, that is inductive effect, I effect, in details, the effect and its application, right? So stay blessed until we go to the next video on inductive effect. Bye bye.